Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel today. We've got another special episode for you here. We're doing an interview with Jen O'Hara. She is the founder and owner of Girls with Guns Clothing. She's a serious 2A advocate in this state, and if you haven't seen any of her work or visited her website, I definitely want to point you to doing that today. Jen, thank you very much for being with us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. But before we get into that today, I wanted to remind you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. It really helps with the algorithms. It really helps get the information out there. We're at some milestones with our subscription base right now. I can't thank you enough for that. We're going to keep pushing forward so that this info gets to as many ears as it possibly can. So, Jen, I guess getting down to it here, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you enter the firearms community? You've got Girls with Guns Clothing. What's the origin of that? Can you just describe how this kind of, that you came into this community?
Well, I was born in Modoc County, Northern California, way northern, only about an hour and a half, 2 hours from the Oregon border. And I grew up on a ranch, and my dad raised me in the outdoors. So I was very horsey. My family hunted, but at that time, I'm going to be dating myself, but in the 80s, it wasn't as prominent that women were the ones that were hunting. So I went along for the ride with my brother and my dad, and I always enjoyed it. I was such a tomboy. Fast forward, being raised that way in the outdoors around firearms, and learning kind of the fundamentals and safety of it. Then, becoming my own person in my 20s, I decided that I wanted to start hunting. And I would say I was probably about 26 when I went through hunter education. And I started doing some wing shooting. Really didn't know a ton about it, but my best friend, her husband, kind of helped guide us along the way. And I started hunting, and I was hooked. Literally one dove hunt, and I was like, I'm in. I love this. By the next year, I was out hunting deer. I had a B zone tag, shot my first buck, and I've been on this road ever since. My best friend and I, Narissa Harmon, we started a company called Girls with Guns Clothing from her garage. I think we were 27. So I was 27 when we did that. It was 16 years ago. And we were just decided that it was a cool name that she had come up with. And she asked if I wanted to be a part of it. And I said, yeah, I'll just like help you get started. I was the business mind of the company. And at the time I was in real estate. And so we just started making t-shirts and hand pressing t-shirts in the garage and hats and selling them. And there was nothing else out there 16 years ago. Now the market has tons of different women's brands, but there was really nothing out there. And so we started selling them. Next thing we know, there's this huge need with Shields and Sportsman's Warehouse because there was no women's clothing. And so we went overseas on our own and learned import export and started really trying to focus on how to build this clothing. And part of the reason we had to do that was because we did try to go in Southern California, and because there was guns in our name and we were hunters, they didn't want our business. And so it was kind of just one of those shifts that was unfortunate for us to not be able to keep it on US soil at the time. So during that time, we started building women's outerwear and hunting clothing, and we had an opportunity to hunt all over the world. And we had our own digital series, which is it's in its 9th season this year. And yeah, it'll be 10th. I'm recording the 10th year. So it started out as Universal Huntress, and then it went to Girls with Guns TV, and we have been sponsored by Ruger, and I'm a Ruger brand ambassador, and I've been working with them for 9 years. So it's just been kind of this journey that started out from this little farm girl who rodeoed and was outdoorsy tomboy. And it's just grown through the years. I decided to become an NRA multidiscipline firearms instructor, started my own side hustle during 2020 because everybody was at home. I used to travel over 200 days a year. And now a CCW instructor for Northern Firearms Instruction. And it's just been a huge opportunity because it's actually helped me to develop women's clothing better. because basically my customer is in front of me all the time. I will teach anywhere from 25 to 50 students a month here in Tehama County. So it's just like my own little homegrown business I do on the side. And it's really an opportunity to hear from my customer at the ground floor what we want to do. And we created a line called Concealed Casual with leggings, accessories, and different products, purses, and things to where you can carry your firearm safely.
It seems like you're kind of hitting the firearms community from a lot of different angles here. You know, one with the apparel, which I mean, when you're comparing how many people participate in this, you know, you're definitely in a minority there. The CCW instructors, you're in a minority there. We have a lot of political demonization that we see when we're talking about firearms legislation. You know, the gun owners tend to get painted as, you know, the old white guy or whatever you want to say there. Would you say that, you know, starting with the clothing brand, did you hit an existing community that was already there, or is this something that helped propel the community forward? Because we also see from the firearms community, even now, you know, expressing the importance of women to get firearms training because it is the great equalizer. You know, if there is, you know, malintent or violence out there, a lot of people think that a firearm is a great way to, you know, have a little bit of security on you. At what time do you think you just hit this market to help make it so successful?
Well, think about 16 years ago, there wasn't anything out there, and our focus wasn't as much protecting yourself in that phase as it was hunting. I think there's been a shift since 2020 in terms of needing to protect ourselves, or us as Americans feeling like we need to be able to protect ourselves. I can tell you in my small community, we went from feeling safe and leaving our doors unlocked to feeling unsafe all the time. The problems that we're dealing with in California, and I don't need to go into it a ton because I know we all know where it's coming from, but with between people who are coming out of prison, they're coming up here, they are drug users, they're squatting just right behind my property. We have 18 acres. I've had to go and spend time within the city of Red Bluff and just say, hey, we have to move these people. I have two daughters that I'm raising, and I have people that are drug addicts walking through my property, not knowing where they're at and trying to find someone and coming to my house, coming to my daughter's second birthday party. It's unsafe. And so this shift that we've started to feel as a woman and as a mother, it's really important to me to train. And so that doesn't mean that I just go out and get my CCW. What that means is that I have to be my own first responder. I have to be my own advocate. And so I train constantly. And I just had my daughter a year ago, my second. And, you know, I took a shift. I take a little bit of time off. You have to. You know, I have to take a little bit of time from shooting and from training. And it's funny, in that time frame of that year that I took off, because I had to take off before when I was 24 weeks pregnant, and I did dry fire, but I wasn't shooting and training like I normally did. And I felt that shift. It's a perishable skill. So as a woman, what I like to advocate is not only that we go out there and we get our CCW, we carry our firearm. Obviously, that's the first step, but it's not the last step. We have to continue to train. It is so important, and people don't realize it. I can't tell you how many times I have students show up in my class for a renewal, and I'm like, okay, who hasn't shot in 2 years? And the hands will go up. And it's not everybody. Okay, how many of you guys are shooting every 3 months? Okay, a few more. How many of you guys, you know, are shooting once a month? You know, there's one or two hands. So I think it's something that's really important for us to teach and make sure that women understand. You don't just carry a firearm. You know that firearm inside out, and it's a part of you. If you're going to protect your children with it, if you're going to protect yourself with it, you need to know how to use it, and you need to also know the repercussions of what could happen if you did have to use your firearm to defend yourself or your family.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of people watching this video will probably understand exactly what you mean when they tell you about this shift of maybe having a community that felt safe that no longer feels safe. Especially going through COVID, and we saw the repercussions of that, right? People, when COVID hit, they went to the store to buy two things. They went to buy firearms and toilet paper, and there are very good reasons for both. So I definitely understand that, but let's talk about some of those things that actually we believe might make it more unsafe, and that's California legislation. We see a lot of anti-Second Amendment legislation. I'm sure that you work in a lot of different programs other than just training, right? So we've got a couple of really bad bills that either got passed last year or are getting passed this year. A couple to note, since you're talking about CCWs, there's Senate Bill 2, which not only raises the requirements for training, it shifts the power away from the sheriffs and into the attorney general as far as issuing is concerned, and it also creates sensitive places everywhere around California. I'm sure that you have a lot of issues with business regulations in California legislation. And we also see things like Assembly Bill 2571 that doesn't allow us to advocate basically to the next generation. I'm curious, how do these laws, when they are consistently coming out, affect you in your life when you have so many different inputs into this community? How do they affect you?
Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but for anyone who's watching, this is our California gun laws. This is what I studied in order to teach it. And they are trying to impose more laws on law-abiding citizens. So someone like myself cannot go into a local business unless it's posted that it's okay for me to carry a firearm, SB2. And I have students come to me and ask me all the time, and that's not okay. And CRPA is the only organization out there that's really just advocating for us and helping us to stop and put a stay on these. Now, I'm not in legislation, and so I'm not going to say it all perfectly like you guys do. You guys know all of this stuff. But as somebody who is a mom and a firearms owner, and I love my guns, I've never committed a crime. I have never used my firearm. They've never accidentally gone off. I keep them safe. Why are these laws here and affecting me? I mean, if we're going to do anything, we really need to focus on the guys that are out there that are committing the crimes, the men, the women, whoever it may be, because I don't think it's fair for our business owners to put them on the spot that they have to note in their business whether or not somebody that's a law-abiding citizen can carry their gun or not. I think that's between myself and my local agency, which is my sheriff, Tehama County. And I think that it's important that it stays that way because we all have different needs, different counties. My county looks different than your county. Everybody's different. And I feel like the authorities here, they know what's best for our community. And so I think that when we talk about Senate Bill 2 is really important. Now, AB 2571 is affecting our youth. And I have been involved in an organization, it's a nonprofit called Kids Outdoor Sports Camp for the past 12 years. So currently I am their lead firearms instructor and a consultant for them. And I go down, I spend a few days every camp, and I walk them through the firearms program with multiple instructors underneath me. These kids are learning how to safely handle a firearm. And last summer, when this bill was coming down, we didn't know if we were even going to be able to do that. Firearms manufacturers have not been able to pour into these safe programs because they are worried about being fined. Is it 25 or 50,000 per occurrence? And nobody knows exactly what that looks like or when that's going to happen. And I just think it's atrocious that we can sit here and try to stop the next generation from learning, because all they're trying to do, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but all they're trying to do is stop the next generation from understanding our Second Amendment and stop them from voting with us or stop them from protecting themselves. It's not fair. Being able to go out and hunt, it is a right that I feel like my daughters, the reason I'm here, the reason I'm staying is because I grew up here, my family is here. I don't want to move. So I'm going to stay and fight. I'm going to fight for the next generation. And I've been doing that for the last 12 years. But, we can only touch 100 or 200 kids a summer. And how do we get the word out more? And that's why I want to be more involved in being a voice and an advocate for California, because if we don't stop it, then it's going to just continue and it's going to get worse. Everybody keeps leaving, or the worst thing that I hear is, well, I can't make a difference. And it's, we're outvoted, by other counties. It doesn't matter. If we're not out there advocating and fighting, then we aren't ever going to make a difference. And we have to continue to try. If you live here, I think that you have to. Otherwise, I don't think you can complain.
Yeah. And, I think it also comes down to just prioritizing. If we can talk to through our own networks and make Second Amendment rights, which, I could make a good argument should be at the top of your priority list, because that Second Amendment right protects all your other rights, right? So, having that at the top of your priority list, if we got 1 million gun owners in California, that's a voting block that not a whole lot of people can beat. So it's really just about prioritizing your voting that way. But I couldn't agree with you more. And yeah, now we kind of just get so much legislation, and it's also kind of scary. And this is why I love the fact that, I'm friendly with Rick up in the Capitol, because he does a really good job at updating me as much as he can. But I mean, you've got another bill to worry about, which is Assembly Bill 262. If you're looking at children's camps, they're looking to create, a group of stakeholders, basically, to create rules and regulations for how children's camps can operate. That includes ranges on these children's camps, and you better believe that these stakeholders aren't going to be from the firearms community. This is another one that we're campaigning against. We're going to send letters. We're going to get our activists involved to make sure that this doesn't become law. But yeah, I mean, you just get so overwhelmed with all the laws that they bring down on you. We need to keep standing up and fighting, or else, we're not even going to have the opportunity to walk away, right? We're all going to be forced to leave. So I'm kind of with you. I don't want to leave either. So we're going to stand and fight, and we gotta reprioritize, with a lot of our networks, so that we can actually start making some progress. I'm also curious, if you have a message to those who don't prioritize Second Amendment rights, for, young women out there, or women in general, who have maybe had a curiosity in firearms but haven't taken that step to saying, hey, I'm going to go out and try this, or I'm going to go out and buy this. What would your message be to them?
One of the things that is really, I think a lot of women don't understand, they have a fear of a firearm. And most of that is the fact that they don't know anything about it. Or one of the most popular things that happens is, I have a student who comes in and she tells me, well, I went out with my husband and I shot a 45, and I'm like, just stop. Let's just start over. Let's just back up and let's start from the beginning. Let's start with dry fire. Find someone who is going to help you at the level that you're at, because you can progress from there. But just taking that first step and being able to defend yourself, it is empowering, and it is also our right. And I think it's really important that as women, you find someone. I have students who drive 4 hours to come up to train with me, because they know that I'm going to work with them and I'm going to meet them where they're at. And I think that's the most important part, is finding someone who will meet you where you're at and help you with that, to gain that skill set, and never do anything except for things that are safe, because it's really important for us to learn. And women want to learn. We want to start from the ground up. We want to know how it operates. We want to know how it functions. We want to know the why. And I love that about women. And I have taken people who have fired their first shot with tears streaming down their face to a holster class. So from the ground up, find somebody that'll work with you, that'll meet you where you're at. Be confident and be able to protect yourself and your family, because it is our right.
Well, yeah, and sorry, guys, but we've got overwhelming evidence that women are better learners. So they do tend to become better shots quicker than the guys do. But I guess if you're persistent, you can always get there, whether you're a guy or a gal. Jen, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. I want to thank you for advocating. I want to thank you for your future advocacy. And once again, thank you very much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you. I enjoyed being on.
Absolutely. And if you like this content, you like this video, again, we're hitting litigation, legislation, programs, and culture. Please feel free and give us a like, a share, or a subscribe. It all helps with the algorithms to get these videos out. And we are going to put Girls with Guns clothing down in the as a link in the description below. Be sure to check them out. They've got some awesome clothing. I know that Mother's Day just came around, but there's always another birthday. There's always another holiday. So go ahead and keep that in mind for that future gift giving, or if you're looking to buy it for yourself. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.